Guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that most of us are going to have to go through at some point. We're talking about coming back from injury. So you've already been injured and now you want to get back into running. And there are some things to really pay attention to when you're getting back into your normal routine after you've been injured. And these are probably some good things to pay attention to if you want to not get re-injured. Let's get into it. Alright guys, first of all, I did come across an article on Outside Online, and this article is titled 3 Things to Know About Training After an Injury. So this video is probably going to be pretty quick, but we're going to cover these 3 things, so when you do get injured, you're going to know what you have to do in order to get back to it. Because you're probably going to want to get back to it. In fact, I would wager that until you get injured and you're not running, you really won't realize how much you enjoy running. It really is one of those things that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. But it's also very rewarding, because when you get to that point after an injury where you can actually go for a run and there isn't any pain, it's a pretty good feeling. It's a feeling that you've been waiting to get back out there for so long and finally you can do it. But then on the other hand, if you don't wait until you're pain-free, you will be going for a run and you'll be just thinking about maybe just the little bit of pain that you've still got from that injury that hasn't healed all the way, and you'll be worrying about it for your entire run and every run thereafter. So definitely worth waiting until you're pain-free before you get back to it. I guess I'm not talking about crazy serious injuries like a stress fracture, right? We know these are injuries that we have to let our body heal. I guess I'm really talking about, including stress fractures, but I'm really talking about these little things that can kind of work their way into our body, just making us feel not so good. We know something is wrong, but perhaps it's not bad enough where we think we have to stop running. Well, in this case, I'll be perfectly honest, because I've been there. You're probably not the best judge of character or judge of injury if you're dealing with it yourself, because we will tell ourselves what we want to hear. And I have told myself more times than I can count that I'm sure it's fine, I just need to run it out. Oh, and of course I do have to say that you should probably be listening to a professional if you are battling an injury. And this could be for several reasons, like actually getting a proper diagnosis and finding out what your injury is so you know how to recover. And then of course it's always best to wait till you get that medical professional's okay or recommendation to actually start training again, right? That would be ideal. Of course, we don't live in an ideal world and all of us have access to Dr. Google, so that's probably the case for most of us, that we're going to be relying on our own interpretation of what's right, what feels right. Anyway, the first thing to focus on when we're coming back from injury is to test the waters and then focus on consistency. So by testing the waters, I mean going out for that trial run. And this first trial run is usually the tricky thing, because we probably want to go and run too soon. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that you have actually waited until you're pain-free, and then you're going out to just see how things feel, right? So you're not experiencing any pain when you're just walking around the house, doing your normal day-to-day stuff, and now you've decided, yeah, now's the time, I'm going to go for a run. Well, if you get through a very short run with no feeling of pain, no feeling of injury, and we're talking about the same injury that has kept you off running, so if that's not bothering you for a very short run, it's important to build consistency before you start building volume. And look, I know volume and consistency, they do go hand in hand, but in the beginning, I would rather you do, and I say I would rather you do, I'm basing my opinions off this article that I read that I'm letting you know about. So I would rather you go out for several times a week for several short runs than just go out and do perhaps 1 or 2 long runs. So your first goal after coming back from an injury will be to get back to where you used to be as far as the training on a certain number of days per week. So if you used to run 5 days a week, kind of build up to going out 5 times a week before you start building up your volume and getting up to that pre-injury mileage or volume. So go out for 5 short runs, 5 days, just a very short amount, just to see how your body feels. And if it's responding well, then we can take it to the next step and maybe add a little more volume. But remember, this stuff takes time. Look, you've already been off running because of this injury. There is no sense just re-aggravating it quickly, so you have to be off again. It's worth it to take your time with this. Now, the article goes a step further and it says once you've been pain-free for 72 hours, then you can try things like doing some drills. So some A skips, some B skips, high knees, butt kicks, the type of things that you would do to warm up, then go out for that short run. I don't want anyone waking up one day and all of a sudden being pain-free and thinking it's over, even though you went to bed the night before and you were still kind of feeling it. Remember, we really can't rely on our own judgment of our injury. We have to give it a little time to make sure we're not feeling what we're not feeling. Oh, here's another thing. When you go out for these short, easy runs, it's probably best if you leave your watch at home, because we don't need any outside influence kind of making us feel bad that perhaps we're not running at an effort or a pace that we were running before we got injured. Because let's be fair to ourselves. You're probably not going to be running as fast as you were before you got injured, because if you've done it right, you've taken enough time off to heal that injury, and maybe a little detraining has happened along the way, and that's totally okay, right? We have to expect that. We're going to get back into it. We are eventually going to get up to our pre-injury fitness, but let it come slowly. So to do that, leave your watch at home. When you're coming back, maybe don't go running with your faster running friends, right? Because they're probably going to push you to do more than you probably should right in the beginning. Oh, and this last thing is, I think this is really good, but you should be finishing each week on your comeback. So when you've been running these 5 days of very short volume. Oh, and this last thing, I think this is really fantastic. But the coach that they quote in the article wants you to finish each week feeling like you could have done more. And the reason that you didn't do more is because you chose not to. And why did you choose not to? Because you're giving your body a chance to heal. You're still kind of testing that injury to make sure nothing comes back with these little bite-sized runs. So remember, short runs, no outside pressure, so no watch, no fast running friends, and just see how it goes. Now, the next tip for returning from an injury is a reminder that you don't have to do it alone, right? Remember, we have already talked about seeing your doctor in an ideal situation to get a proper diagnosis and then a proper recovery time and then getting the okay to pick back up with your training. But you can also consider a coach. Now, if you're working with a coach, you may have been working with a coach during your time off. And if that's the case, then you are well set up because your coach has probably seen other athletes, other runners with similar injuries. And they're going to be pretty familiar with running injuries if they're a coach. Probably because at some point in their running career, they've experienced those injuries themselves, or they've had clients that have had similar injuries to you. Anyway, by having a coach, it's going to take all the guesswork out of how to get back because they're going to give you that guidance. They're going to give you a plan to slowly ramp up your volume, keeping your effort low. And then when it comes time to start adding a little more intensity, they will be there to guide you. There won't be any guesswork. They can also hold you accountable to keeping up with your stretching, your strength work, maybe your foam rolling. Where is it? It's here. And I actually changed this so I could put my foam roller on the back shelf here so I would be reminded to use it more often. Because if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably know that I'm really not a fan of foam rolling. And I hate to tell you this, but since I've put it up there on the shelf, I haven't taken it down once. But after I press stop on this video, I am going to foam roll. Oh, maybe I will. Maybe I will do tomorrow. Okay, finally, this last tip for coming back from an injury is probably the most important, and that is to treat yourself. You want to treat yourself right, and by treating yourself right, I'm talking about not skimping on rest and recovery. Remember, rest and recovery is the name of the game. So let's say you've had an injury that has kept you out of running for X number of weeks. Well, just because you are running again, your focus is still on rest and recovery, right? You are not back to where you used to be, and until you get back to that, you are still recovering from an injury. You're just in that next phase of recovery by slowly introducing those runs and by getting back into the swing of things. But these things take time. So don't be afraid to go for a short run and then put your feet up. And look, if you've been out for several weeks, you are probably going to have to take care of your body as far as letting your body recover more from workouts that you probably wouldn't have even blinked at before your injury. All these things are going to be a bit mentally taxing, right? I mean, let's say you're a runner and you're injured. You've already had to deal with that mental hurdle of like not being able to do what you love. And then when you're coming back from injury, like you're still in that mindset. Like you want to just pick up where you left off and you want to crush it and you want to jump back into that speed work and you want to get fast again and you want to start scheduling races, but it's too soon. It's too soon when you're coming back. So you have to keep a positive mindset because you are moving in the right direction and you just don't want to rush it. Guys, I've got to tell you, it's easier said than done because we all want to get back to where we were, but it's important to be patient with the training process. And if you haven't been injured, well, congratulations, you've been very lucky. You have still got to be patient with the training process because it takes time. And the article points out that fitness is nothing more than a result of quality and consistent training over time. And the main point in that sentence is over time. It takes time to build fitness. It takes time to build fitness back. So guys, now I want to hear from you. What was your last injury? How much time did you take off for it? Drop a comment and let me know. Oh, and if you really want to dig into your comment, you could also let me know about the struggle of coming back. Like, did you push it too hard too soon? Did you get re-injured? That would be just the worst case scenario, but I'd still love to hear about it. And if you have made it to this point in the video, because we've been talking about injuries, I think there is an emoji with like a crutch, like a pair of crutches, but I think the emoji is just a single crutch. So if you can find that, that is the emoji of the day. Why don't you drop a little crutch in the comment, just so I know that you made it to this point in the video. And with that, it's Matt B. This has been just a couple of tips to coming back from injury and doing it in a healthy way. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.